The reason I live in
The
Vancouver.
reason I live in Vancouver
Trails
is
are awesome.
There's so many trails you can bike.
Vancouver's the best kept secret.
My family loves
I moved to
Vancouver.
It's a great place to raise a
What
family.
I like
There's
about
so much.
My family
Vancouver's
loves
an awesome
Vancouver.
city because my family
I
loves
love Vancouver
Vancouver.
because
It's home for me.
I can't imagine not playing music or being involved in music. It's not necessarily second nature, but just an expression. I'm better at listening to music that chimes with my emotions more so than trying to express my emotions verbally, I guess. I don't know. I just always enjoyed music and couldn't imagine not being involved in music one way or another. My name's Matt Brislon. I'm born and raised in Vancouver, Washington, third generation. I opened up Brislon Guitar in 1995 and Reverb Rehearsal Studios in 2006.
Music is vital to the human experience because it's more than cognition. It's more than words. It's more than dialogue or even conversation. It's felt. In the best case circumstance, it's felt in a shared way. Like two people sort of have a shared experience that maybe we can't even articulate. And as I've experienced that through music, it's actually inspired me as a therapist to sort of bring that same sort of attitude to therapy, that this is a chance for us to share an experience that sort of transcends your day-to-day sort of casual interactions. My name is Jimmy Evans. I live here in Vancouver, Washington. I play music with the exquisite taste of plain water, and I also have a private therapy practice downtown Vancouver here.
I think about this all the time where I don't know what I would do if I didn't play in a band, because all my friends are in bands and we just play shows and go out to shows and have band practice. I don't think that I'm even lacking in friends. I think I have a ton of friends that I love a lot and are really wonderful. And I actually can't think of a single person that I hang out with who doesn't play shows consistently, go to shows consistently, and have band practice. It's like your community. My name's Janie Black. I'm from Vancouver, Washington, and I play guitar and sing in a band called Planet Dam.
I've found that I've needed music in my life. I can't imagine a life without it. It's helped me through everything, bad times and good times. And I have it on all the time. Music is playing at all times in my life. Cleaning the house, whatever I'm doing, in the car. It's kind of a soundtrack for my life. My name is Paul Bond, and I play an exquisite taste of plain water, and I live in Vancouver.
I remember my mom taking me to a bar on Main Street, sneaking me into this bar to see my uncle play acoustic guitar. And that was the most exposure I had to a musician in our family. And my parents listened to music a lot, but nobody was putting instruments in my hand as a child or anything like that. The school I went to up in the Heights, Beacocks came in and did a demonstration once, and I saw the trumpet and thought that might be fun and failed miserably at it. Figured I wasn't a musical person, and it wasn't until much later that I met a drummer and he put a bass in my hand.
I was born here and lived here for the first couple years of my life, and then my family bought property out in Battleground, Washington. So I grew up out in the sticks, sort of. At a young age, I became obsessed with Elvis Presley. I used to dress up like him. I had a career day in school. I remember my grandma had made me this Elvis suit that I wore, and I think it came from my dad. My dad played music and at least was into music, listening to it all the time, and it was just always around and influencing me.
I started playing music, I think because my family just had me do it. I just started taking piano lessons when I was 6, and I started learning violin and flute from this guy named Rob Melton. Started playing guitar when I was about 11 or 12, I think because I liked music that was written on guitar. After I learned how to play guitar a little bit, I started going to the rock and roll camp for girls back when it was in North Portland, and they had an after-school program, and I would go there, take a guitar lesson, and then we would write songs, be separated up into bands and write songs, and then we'd have a showcase at a local place.
I grew up in White Salmon, Washington, down in the Gorge. Music was not a big part of the town. I moved from White Salmon to Woodland. That's where I went to middle school and high school, and so I kind of got into it there. As I got through high school, my later years, I was starting to get out of it, and then I ended up going into the Army. And then one of my friends I used to write with, a big influence on me, died. So right at that moment, I just had this kind of epiphany, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get back into it. So I got out of the Army, and I never looked back. I've been playing music ever since.
Was working in a shop in Seattle, and I was the person specializing in music, and saw that there was a void of that in Vancouver. So I set like a year goal of coming back and opening up a musical instrument shop. When I moved in 1995 downtown, it was still borderline of what was going to happen. You know, previous to that, it was a ghost town. I think most of the block was not occupied. It has slowly grown amazingly in the last 2 decades, and it's accelerating now. There's more and more every year, more venues that are hosting live music, and more residents and more new businesses that are all unique.
This is a sort of a new market for us because even, 20 years ago when we were playing in bands, even if you lived in Vancouver, you were a Portland band. It was like Portland had the sort of star on the map. Nobody really thought about Vancouver. This is different. I think part of it goes back to the place we are in our lives right now, our age, our life experience, our desire to be like fully authentic, and just, we're embracing the whole Vancouver thing.
Faye Funk, she's the bass player in Planet Dam. We had a band together at the girls' rock camp, and then we started a band outside of it. I've been trying to push myself with playing guitar more. It's easier to kind of not be timid when you're older too, but it's like push toward the type of band that maybe we wanted when we were teenagers. Like the goal isn't like being famous or anything, but it's having more of a cohesive project and like doing things that I've never done with a band before.
What our goal is with The Exquisite is we want to just keep going and going and going and kind of build a following with thinking outside the box. I mean, we're working with Trapdoor Brewing, and we're coming up with our own beer, play shows alongside of where that's going to be released. You know, the more we can work with companies and people locally in Vancouver, I mean, that's what we're all about.
Reverb rehearsal studios grew great. There was definitely demand for a nice quality rehearsal studios. And I found that half the rooms were filling up with Portland bands just because it was such a nicer facility. And so I started weeding out all the 503 numbers every time we had requests for rooms, and started calling only the 360 numbers and trying to cater just to the Vancouver bands. So now it's almost completely filled with just local Vancouver bands.
Paul and I have been making music or creating in some way for most of our lives. It's important beyond the monetary value. It's people. So I think it's really important that we continue to invest in it, in our community. How people do that, go to shows. Go out, be with others, share music. I think one of the things that we've been sort of really pleasantly surprised by is as we've started to see the Exquisite Taste of Plain Water pick up and start playing more shows, it seems as though the rest of the community is sort of on the same page. We actually did an employee party for the Heathen Brewing Company, and that was sort of sent to us by Dwayne, Lincoln's Beer. They were unable to do it, and it was just sort of a nice gesture. Like, we're all trying to support each other. The idea that sort of rising tides lift all boats.
Working at Briz, we're the only music store in downtown Vancouver, so it's like nice when people come to us. Like, I noticed that a lot of our business is from Portland and not Vancouver, so that's kind of funny. Being like locally supportive means going to locally owned businesses and then also supporting local artists and musicians too. You could like less stuck in this idea that there's nothing going on, because like at some point there was not a lot going on. Look for stuff that's happening. There's so many like new bars and stuff.
Right now there's not a real music venue per se, but there's music everywhere. You know, the breweries and tap rooms all usually have a corner set aside for musicians to play. So there is a ton of opportunity for musicians to play.
Not only is there a community of musicians that are playing live gigs regularly, but there's also more nurturing of younger generations with the Vancouver School of Arts that's happening, and the possible new elementary school downtown that's going to specialize in arts and tech. Right now there is a gap that's missing. You have the huge amphitheater, and then you have a lot of small venues, bars and whatnot, but there's no mid-size opportunities, but they appear to be brewing. Hopefully we'll see something of that in the next 5 years happen.